7 tortilla brands families should recheck, and 2 cleaner packs. At Culinary Cipher, we don't follow food marketing, we verify it. The truth is always on the label. Decode your plate. A tortilla should be one of the simplest foods on earth. Corn or flour, water, a little fat, a little salt, maybe lime for corn tortillas. That's the whole tradition. So why does the back of so many tortilla packs in the bread aisle read like a science experiment? Dough conditioners, multiple preservatives, gums, and oils you've never heard of? This is a staple in a lot of homes. Tacos, wraps, quesadillas, school lunches. So it's worth 30 seconds to see what you're really feeding everyone. Here's some ingredients in tortilla brands that we feel are worth investigating. 1. Hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils. The source of trans fats, largely phased out, but still worth scanning for in older or cheaper formulations. 2. Preservatives and dough conditioners. Calcium propionate, sorbic acid, fumaric acid, sodium metabisulfite, datum, and mono, and diglycerides, which keep a tortilla soft and shelf-stable for weeks. 3. Overall list length versus the traditional 4 or 5 ingredients. A long shelf life usually means a long ingredient list. Families, today we're investigating 7 popular tortillas to recheck the ingredient list and finishing with 2 cleaner packs. Let the decoding begin. Number 1, the big brand flour tortillas and wraps built for long shelf life. The soft, fold without cracking, last-a-month flour tortilla usually earns that durability through dough conditioners and preservatives. Recheck the back. You'll often find mono and diglycerides, calcium propionate, and a couple of additives doing the softness and shelf life work that lard or oil and same-day freshness used to do. Number 2, low-carb and high-fiber wraps. These are popular with families watching carbs, but the carb magic comes from added wheat protein, fibers like cellulose and inulin, gums, and a longer processed ingredient list. They can be a fine tool for a specific diet. Just recheck that you know it's a heavily engineered product, not a simple tortilla. Number 3, flavored tortillas, spinach, tomato-basil, garlic herb wraps. The color and flavor usually come from small amounts of vegetable powder plus added flavoring and color on top of the same preservative base. The green wrap isn't really a serving of spinach. Recheck if you were counting on it as veggies. Number 4, flour tortillas with hydrogenated oils. Most brands have moved away from these, but some budget or older formula products still list partially hydrogenated oil. The trans fat source health authorities have pushed to eliminate. Recheck the oil line specifically. If you see partially hydrogenated, that's the one to leave on the shelf. Number 5, store brand and bulk tortillas leaning on preservatives. The economy multi-packs that stay soft for weeks generally do it with a fuller preservative and conditioner list. Cheap and convenient, but recheck whether you're buying a tortilla or a tortilla-shaped shelf stability product. Number 6, whole wheat and multi-grain tortillas that aren't mostly whole grain. Whole wheat on the front doesn't guarantee whole wheat is the main flour. Refined flour can still lead the list, with a little whole wheat and caramel color added for the wholesome look. Recheck the ingredient order to see which flour actually dominates. Number 7, refrigerated fresh and uncooked tortillas that still carry additives. The raised at home, puff-in-the-pan tortillas feel artisanal, and some are genuinely simple, but others still include conditioners and preservatives. The fresh framing doesn't guarantee a short list. Recheck rather than assume. Before we keep going, notice what we've done. We haven't guessed. We haven't chased food trends. We've simply turned the package over. That's the mission of Culinary Cipher, helping families separate tradition from marketing and ingredients from advertising. One grocery trip, one label, one informed decision at a time. Because the truth is always on the label. Decode your plate. Now the honest part, because tortillas are genuinely a good, versatile staple, and I don't want to ruin taco night. None of these additives are banned or acutely dangerous, and a tortilla is still a reasonable carb. The point is that you can get a much shorter, more recognizable ingredient list for nearly the same price or effort, and the cleaner versions often taste noticeably better, especially when warmed. This is one of the easiest upgrades with almost no downside swaps in the whole grocery store. Quick tips. The shortest list wins, and the traditional list is short. For corn tortillas, ideally just corn masa or corn treated with lime, water, and maybe salt and a touch of lime preservative. For flour, water, fat, salt, and a leavening agent. Corn tortillas are very often the cleaner choice by default, since authentic ones can be nearly 2 or 3 ingredients. In refrigerated or frozen storage is a hint a brand is using fewer preservatives, because it doesn't need them to last. Let me hand families 2 things that make this easy to act on. First, the corn versus flour decision, because it settles most of the question by itself. Authentic corn tortillas are very often the cleanest item in the entire aisle. Traditional ones are essentially just nixtamalized corn treated with lime, water, and maybe a touch of salt and preservative. They're naturally gluten-free, lower in calories than most flour tortillas, and made from whole grain corn. Flour tortillas taste great and are wonderful for certain dishes, but they're where most of the dough conditioners and preservatives live, because flour tortillas are harder to keep soft and shelf-stable. So if you just want the simplest, cleanest option without reading 12 labels, reach for real corn tortillas and warm them properly. A few seconds on a dry skillet or open flame transforms them from cardboard stiff to soft and fragrant. Second, the storage trick that lets you buy clean tortillas without them going bad. The reason brands load up on preservatives is shelf life. A clean tortilla simply doesn't last as long at room temperature. And now, here are 2 cleaner packs. First, simple corn tortillas with a 2 or 3 ingredient list. Many authentic brands, store-brand corn tortillas, and local tortillerias make these. Look for corn masa flour, water, maybe lime, a small amount of preservative, and not much else. They're usually cheaper than fancy wraps, naturally gluten-free, and they're the closest thing to the traditional food. Warm them on a dry skillet, and they're transformed. Second, clean label flour and grain tortillas like siete, cassava, and almond-based, very short lists. La Tortilla Factory's simpler lines, and any flour tortilla whose label you can read top to bottom without a chemistry degree. Siete in particular built its whole brand on minimal, grain-free ingredients, which is why families with sensitivities reach for it. You'll pay a bit more, but the list is honest. Here's the rules for the tortilla aisle. The shorter the ingredient list, the better. Traditional corn tortillas are often the simplest choice. Flour tortillas can still be excellent, but they deserve a quick label check before they go into the cart. None of this is about perfection. It's about understanding the difference between a traditional food and a heavily engineered version of one. Once you know what to look for, the label makes the decision much easier. At Culinary Cipher, we don't just read labels, we decode them. Every ingredient tells a story. The truth is always on the label. Decode your plate. Now go grab the tortillas sitting in your kitchen and count the ingredients. Did you find 4 or 14? Let's find out whose taco night is built on real tortillas and whose is built on a lab. Comment down below.